Hi, good to see you again. Welcome to Block 1, Constructing, Measuring, and Using Geometric Notation. Lesson 3. I'll share my screen. So, in your previous lesson, you learned how to draw and measure line segments using geometric figures. In today's lesson, you're going to learn how to understand and use angles as a measure of turn. Please support our mission to educate the global population of children who may not have access to high quality maths education. So do that by liking the video, sharing the video with those you think can benefit, subscribe to the channel, and click on the notification bell so that when new videos are released, you will be notified. Thank you. Before we start, I would like you to pause the video and answer the retrieval practice questions in 2 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered the questions, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. So for the first one, you were asked how many degrees are equal to a full turn. So a full turn is 360 degrees. A half turn is half of 360 degrees, so it is 180 degrees. A quarter turn is a quarter of 360 degrees, so 360 divided by 4 is 90 degrees. Next, we were asked, fill in all of the other labels on the compass. So for a compass, if you had not done this in primary school, you should know that the north is being shown to you. So going clockwise, so clockwise is the direction of the clock. That way, you would have, so going down, so let's do that one first. Going down just beneath north, you would have south. And then going clockwise, you would have east. And opposite to east is west. Now, in between north and east, you will have northeast. In between east and south, you would have southeast. In between south and west, you would have southwest. And in between north and west, you would have northwest. Okay, let's do our learning for today. Eva and Amir are stood facing the directions shown by the arrows. They both turn through a quarter turn clockwise. Which way are they facing now? Have a think. Well, it is important for you to know that we must, repeat exactly what we mean by clockwise. So clockwise is that direction, so the direction of the clock. So if Eva is facing that direction, then a quarter turn has to be through. So we know anti-clockwise is the opposite direction. Sorry to miss that. So a quarter turn has to be that, so 90 degrees. So Eva will be facing the direction of the red arrow. Amir is facing a slightly different direction, but that would not change much our result because we just need to show that Amir has made a quarter turn, so 90 degrees turn. So Amir would face that direction. All right, let's look at another example. So Rosie is standing at point O. She begins facing direction B, so this direction. She turns to direction D, so this one, and then back to direction B. Describe the turns that Rosie makes. Well, we can describe the turns in different ways, but let's do it the first one. So for the first one, we can say, well, Rosie turns a quarter turn clockwise, so this direction, and then a quarter turn anti-clockwise. that direction. So that takes Rosie back to where she was. We could also describe it another way. We could say Rosie turns a quarter turn clockwise and then 3/4 turn clockwise to get to where she was. Now, 3/4 turn is equal to 270 degrees. It's now time for you to practice what you've learned. So pause video and answer questions 1 and 2 in 3 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered questions 1 and 2, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. So for question 1, you were asked, Whitney is facing in the direction of the arrow, right there. She turns through half a turn. Show the direction that Whitney is now facing. So half a turn is 180 degrees. So if we want to just, check this just to make sure you understand. So 90 degrees would be making a turn up to that position, but half a turn is 180 degrees. So she would be in the opposite direction. Teddy is facing in the direction of the arrow, so right there. He turns through half a turn, so opposite direction. So you should know that half a turn would take anything, any person, or any object in the opposite direction. So imagine you were facing north, facing the direction, and then somebody tells you to make half a turn. That simply means turn backwards. So turn facing the opposite direction. And then next you ask, show the direction that Teddy is now facing. We're showing it there. Mark the angle that Teddy has turned through is 180 degrees. We've marked it. And then next we'll ask, let's get that out of the way. So next we'll ask, what angle has Teddy turned through? Teddy has turned through 180 degrees. So by now, we know half a turn is 180 degrees. Pause video and answer question 3 in 3 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered question 3, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. So here you were asked, the diagram shows a compass and the direction of some places. Kim, Jack, Annie, and Mo are all standing at point A. So they're all standing at point A, which is here. Kim is facing the church. That's Kim right there. She turns through a quarter of a turn clockwise. Which place is she now facing? So you're going to have to do some thinking to answer this question. So pause the video and answer it in 3 minutes. All right, assuming you've paused the video and you've answered the question, here are the answers. So here for the first one, you ask, Kim is facing the church. She turns through a quarter of a turn clockwise. Which place is she facing now? So a quarter of a turn is 90 degrees. So she's going to turn in this direction, 90 degrees. So she's going to be facing the school, right? Next. Jack is facing the cinema. He turns through a quarter of a turn. Which 2 places could he be facing? Okay, he could be facing the restaurant or the supermarket. So he's facing the cinema. Okay. And then he turns through a quarter of a turn. Now, why do we have 2 answers? Is because he could turn clockwise or anti-clockwise. So if he turns clockwise, he's going to be facing, so this is the cinema. Clockwise, he's going to be facing the restaurant. But if he turns anti-clockwise, he's going to be facing the supermarket. All right, next, Annie is facing the restaurant. Complete the sentence. She makes a half turn and she's facing the supermarket. Okay, so if you go check your chart, you will see that that's the answer. Mo is facing the coffee shop. He makes a 3/4 turn clockwise. Where is he facing now? He's going to be facing the bank. All right, pause the video and answer question 4 in 2 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered question 4, here is the answer. So question 4, Amir is facing C right here. He turns to face E, that's E. What two possible turns could Amir have made? So Amir could have made a quarter turn in this direction to face E, so clockwise. He could also have turned 3/4, so in anti-clockwise, to get to that direction. Okay, 3/4 turn. So clockwise or anti-clockwise 3/4 turn. Okay, let's do some new learning for the second part of our lesson. Tommy is facing southwest, so this is southwest. Tommy turns 10 full turns. The question is, which direction is Tommy facing after 10 full turns? There are some more questions you need to think about. How many degrees did Tommy turn through? And next, did it matter whether Tommy turns clockwise or anti-clockwise? Have a think. Okay. Well, first thing, let's talk about which direction Tommy is facing now. So if Tommy makes one full turn, Tommy is going to be facing southwest. Now, if he turns 10 full turns, he's going to be still at southwest. Okay. How many degrees did Tommy turn through? So one full turn is 360 degrees. 10 full turns will be 360 times 10. So that will be 3,600 degrees. Now, it didn't matter whether Tommy turns clockwise or anti-clockwise, okay? Because he will still return to southwest where he should be. All right, so we'll get the same result. Okay, let's think about something else. Here is another example. Here, Dexter says we can only turn through full turns, half turns, and quarter turns. But Rosie thinks we can turn through any fraction of a turn. Whom do you think is right? Okay, well, we agree with Rosie. We're going to agree with Rosie. Why? Because we can have fractions of a turn. Here is an example. If I say how many degrees is equal to 3/8 of a turn, what do you think is going to happen? Well, before I explained using the bar model, did you remember when we did fraction of amount? So if I wrote 3/8 of a turn is 360 degrees. So it's like saying 3/8 of 360 degrees. And did you remember in our lesson when we worked with fraction of amount? We divide by the denominator and we multiply by the numerator. So this will be 360, which you can do in your calculator, divided by 8. And whatever you get, you're going to have to multiply that by 3. Okay, let's think about it in a bar model. So in a bar model, 360 is the whole lot. 3/8 means we need 8 parts, of which we're going to take 3. So 360 divided by 8 is 45. So each of the blocks in the bar is 45 degrees. So 3 lots of that will be 3 times 45, which is 135 degrees. It's now time for you to practice what you've learned from the second part of the lesson. So pause the video and answer question 5 in 3 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered the questions, here are the answers. So a full turn is equal to 360 degrees. 2 full turns is 360 times 2, which is 720 degrees. 3 full turns will be 360 times 3, which will be 1080 degrees. Half a full turn is 180 degrees. A quarter of a full turn is 90 degrees. And 3/4 of a full turn is 270 degrees. Now, for this one, this simply means you need to do 2 full turns, which is 360. So this will be 360, which is 720, because a full turn is 360. That's my mistake. So this one will be 720, which is 2 full turn, plus 3/4 of a turn. You know, 3/4 of a turn is 270. So when you add these two, you would get that. You can see that's the result. 1 1/3. So a full turn is 360 degrees. That's the full turn. 1/3 will be 360 divided by 3, which is 120. So it's like adding these two. Okay. Remember, they are degrees, they're not just ordinary numbers. All right, pause the video and answer question 6 in 3 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered question 6, here are the answers. So here, you asked, a ship is heading north. It turns through 90 degrees clockwise. Which direction is the ship now facing? So if the ship was heading north, if it turns 90 degrees, it's now going to be facing east. Next, another ship is facing southeast. It turns through 90 degrees clockwise. Okay, the ship is facing southeast. It turns through 90 degrees clockwise. Which direction is the ship now facing? So southeast, 90 degrees. The ship will now be facing southwest. Okay. Next one. A final ship is heading northwest, so northwest is that direction. The ship turns anti-clockwise to face northeast. So it was facing northwest. It turns anti-clockwise to face northeast. So it goes all the way to face northeast. How many degrees has the ship turned through? You can see it's 270 degrees. A quick way to work it out is you can see the full turn returning to where it started from is 360, but here we have 90. So if you do 360 minus 90, you will know that's 3/4 turn, which is 270 degrees. Pause the video and answer question 7 in 2 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered the question, here is the answer. So question 7, you're asked, Philip is facing A. So you can see A right there. He makes 10 equal sized turns. He finishes facing A. How many degrees did he turn through to face G? So he makes 10 equal sized turns. All right. And then when he finished, he was now facing G. So that's G. So he was facing A. And then he's now facing G. All right. So the answer will be 216 degrees. All right. So he makes 10 equal sized turns. So when we say 10 equal sized turns, and then he's now facing G, remember those turns could be very little turns that he made to get to that point. So the way to find out what turn he has made from A to G is to do 360 minus whatever is left on the other side there. So here, this part here, from here, okay, from here, remember each of these. So we have 1. So just to take a look real quick. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. So it means each of these angles is 36. Now, if you look, he has made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, if you work it out, 36 times 6. 6 times 6 is 36. We write 6, we carry 3. 6 times 3 is 18, plus that 3 we carried is 21. So what matters is we do not know the equal size turns he made, but we just need to find out by what angle he has made those turns all together. Okay? And by looking at what each of these angle is worth, we can quickly say that he has gone through 216 degrees in total from those equal size turns. Now, if he has made 10 of them, then we can simply, if we simply divide 216 by 10, it means those equal size turns he made were 21.6 degrees each. And that brings us to the end of our lesson. So really well done for sticking around and for learning about angles as a measure of turn and understanding how we work with the very basic understanding of angles, which will help you in further future lessons, even in year 8, year 9, year 10, and year 11. Until next time, take good care of yourself, and bye-bye.